Well, back in the early 90s, there was an outpouring of the Spirit in Lakeland, Florida. Carl Strader was the host pastor who really made room for God to just do whatever he wanted. A great move of God started in that period of time that ignited and impacted Randy Clark powerfully, who went to Toronto. Toronto imparted to England. Steve Hill went to England, got whacked, went to Pensacola, and things have spread all over the world. But the coals were first formed in Lakeland, Florida. The Lord is releasing even a greater glory in this hour. Something very significant began a year and a half ago now in Lakeland. And tonight we have just such a great privilege to welcome the pastor of that particular movement. He's going to give us the whole story. Let's honor the man of God who has just welcomed God to do whatever he wants. Let's welcome Stephen Strader to the pulpit. We're so glad you're here. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you very much. Bless you very much. I know that Bethel loves stories, and I've got this is hot off the griddle story. This past week, we have a pastor that was sent out from our house to plant another church. His daughter-in-law was in a very serious car accident, serious internal injuries, and was trapped in the car as the fire department, rescue department had to use the jaws of life, and took them 30 minutes to get her out of this car. And as they're putting her into the ambulance, she says, "Please give me the lady's name." And I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, the lady that was sitting next to me in the car. "I want her name, please. I want to thank her." And I said, "Ma'am, there was nobody sitting with you in the car." She said, "Yes, there was. The lady, she kept talking to me, telling me I was going to be okay, not to worry about it, everything would be all right. She was sitting next to me." They said, "Ma'am, no one was sitting next to you in the car." Isn't that fun? I love those stories. Angelic visitations. Just let me give you a couple of the more unusual or notable miracles. But I've got my son, Austin, and his roommate, Jeremiah. Jeremiah was our worship leader for our youth department, and they're going to stay here and be part of the school. And we had hired these two guys to do the midnight shift because, teenagers like to stay up late at night. And so we gave them the graveyard shift to clean the building. Thorough cleaning, boys. You've got from 12 to 3. 12 to 3. I want you done. I want you home in bed. No messing around. And the first couple of nights, they were dragging in 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then they started dragging in at 5 and 5:30. And so I said, "What is going on? You guys are just trying to take advantage of me. You're just stretching under the time clock, You just want extra money." And Austin would say, "Dad, no, the angels are just messing with us." I said, "Listen, son, we don't play around with things like, that's holy. That's holy. You don't mess around." "Dad, I'm telling you the truth, man." I said, "What do you mean the angels are messing with you?" He said, "Oh, we'll be vacuuming, and you can feel them peering over your shoulder, and we'll peek around, and they'll be hiding behind a corner like this, and they'll smile, and then they're gone." And I'm going, "Come on, what are you guys smoking in there? I want to know right now." One morning at 6 o'clock, he's still not home, and I'm dialing him on the cell phone. "What are you guys doing? I don't want to hear about this angel stuff." "Dad, you're not going to believe what happened tonight." And he's like laughing, he's crying, he's hysterical. He's on the phone talking to me, and I'm still, I'm tempted to drive down there and see it for myself. Maybe they're smoking the vacuum cleaner. I don't know what they're doing. You got to keep in mind, man, I'm Assemblies of God. This is new for me. So he tells me this story. Now, I'm going to tell the story the way I tell it. You can ask him. He tells it different, but my way's right. So I'm the father. So he tells me this story. He said, in the middle of the night, they're cleaning the building, and these two young people from Southeastern University feel led to get up and come over to the church and just pray, not thinking anybody would be there. And they're pacing back and forth in front of our building, praying in the Holy Ghost, you know. You know how teenagers pray. They pray like this, you know, and they're real fervent and making a lot of noise. And so the maintenance staff and the housekeeping staff come up to the front and say, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, we just felt led to come down here and pray. And they said, well, you want to pray inside? And they go, sure, you know, that's cool. You want us to help you clean? And my son, he's pretty smart. He's thinking, okay, they're going to help us clean for free. So he gives them a bottle of Windex and he says to this one guy, he says, I want you to go in the ladies' bathroom, just clean all the mirrors and all the chrome, everything. Just spray it down, clean it up. So he's in there. A few minutes later, they hear this sound, this commotion, and this terror coming from the women's bathroom. So all the guys come running in there, and they find this guy. He's trying to get his shirt off, and he's pulling his shirt off, and my back is on fire, my back is on fire. And he pulls off his shirt, and he looks in the mirror, and he had cancer in his back many years before, and had some kind of radiation treatments, and had huge scars on his back as large as a basketball, and every scar was burned off of his back. Totally gone. Totally gone. So they were stuck to the floor praying for each other and rejoicing over the miracles. And so the next night we get them up to tell this testimony. And from that moment on, scars just started disappearing. And your own Pastor Paul was telling me, I went to lunch with him Friday, I think it was. Pastor Paul was watching on God TV, heard the story, and his scar instantly just went to normal. It had some complications, went to normal. We had a lady that was working like a 12-hour shift as a nurse and just taking care of her family and everything. She never got to come to a meeting, but she was watching on the webcast, and she heard the stories about the scars being removed, and she drove by our church. We had this big electronic sign out in front, and she saw the sign. It said miracles inside, you know, whatever, and she was driving by. She says, that's the church where the miracles are happening. And she had a radical hysterectomy with a scar from one side to the other. And she's driving by in her car, and she puts one hand on the scars, and she said, Jesus, can you heal my scars? As she's driving by at 50 miles an hour on the big highway, Highway 98, it's just like your 299 out here. But it's 8 lanes right in front of my church. 8-lane highway right in front of my church. She's driving by 50 miles an hour, instantly healed, no trace of scar. Totally healed.